Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Yes, talking about these pesky relationships.
Yeah, we're in your ear every week.
Yes.
Trying to help people out.
Yes. And if you listen and you're an avid listener, please tell a friend.
Yes, please.
Help a brother and sister out.
Yeah, spread the word.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If not for advice, at least for entertainment.
Yes. If you're bored, you got nothing else to do, and you want to kill some time, then
Yeah.
This is the right show for you right there. You know what? I do get a lot from people that do listen to people that I know or whatever. Because I know you've posted pictures, but they'll ask me, because they say you have a really cute voice.
Oh.
And they're usually, is she really as cute as she sounds? And I'm like, yeah, she kind of is. But
Thank you.
But you know how it can be deceiving sometimes when
Yes.
you hear a very sexy voice and then you see the person and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe not so much.
We've
the
all
voice.
been fooled before.
And it's not even, exactly. It could be it just doesn't match what you thought they look like based on their voice. And then when you see them
or the same thing, even with their looks. Like if you look at someone and you think that they're a certain way, and then you start to interact and you're like, this doesn't match the way you look for some reason. I don't know.
No, you know what's even worse? I've done this before where I've compared them to people that look similar to them. And that's what ends up happening. It's like the person that I knew that looks like that.
Yeah.
And then the new person, you're like, you don't act like the other person. It's throwing me off because y'all look similar, but you don't act similar. Obviously, you're different people.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I've had situations where they also is very attractive, and then they talk, and then I'm out. You know what I mean? Like their voice is so annoying, or just something about it. It doesn't resonate with me. And
I did have a girlfriend one time ask me, she does listen to the pod, and she'd asked me what you look like. And I had showed her a picture, and she was like, oh, that's not what I thought he looked. And I was like, what did you think he looked? She was like, honestly, I thought he was kind of nerdy. I was like, really?
Wow.
Maybe because you sound
Really?
like educated. I don't know. She didn't say, but I was like,
I wonder if she pictured me with like glasses.
she did. That's
Did
exactly
really?
what she
Okay.
said. She was like, I thought he was kind of like nerdy with glasses.
Wow.
I don't know
No.
why.
I'm pretty not nerdy.
I don't think-
I'm
I
nerdy
didn't
about
take
certain
it as,
things.
like, an insult
No,
at
no, no.
all.
And I like nerds. Remember, we've talked about
Oh,
that
that's
before.
true.
I love a good nerd.
Nerd versus geek.
And I guess at heart I am. I just don't look
Yeah.
like a nerd. You wouldn't until you talk to me a little
I
bit.
just
and you're
think
like, yeah, he's a nerd.
I'm speaking for her, but I just think that you sound very educated and you know a lot about
So I
just
have
certain
her fooled,
things.
is what you're saying. Yeah, no, I don't, I don't know what people think whenever they hear my voice and haven't seen my face.
Yeah.
Maybe now I'm gonna be subconscious about it. Oh, but anyways, I am a nerd. So today we're gonna be talking about the games that people play during dating. Right? I
So
kind of said
many.
that my dyslexia is acting up on me.
Games people play.
Games people play, during the courtship, let's call it.
Yeah.
Right?
There is a book that I read. It's like a business book, Games People Play. I read it for work.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but it kind of breaks down like, I guess like work culture.
Like office politics?
Kind
I
of.
love office politics. I love it.
And unless you're in it, then you don't like
No,
it.
even when I'm in it, I
Oh.
love it. I absolutely love it.
I don't.
Because, well, you know me, I like games of strategy. And politics is one of those things that you have to outwit your opponent if you want to look at it that way, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because in office politics, it's not necessarily you're trying to win. It could be that maybe you want to promote your idea or whatever, or you're trying to get support for a certain, a path forward, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So you need help. And in anything, like you always need help, because if you don't have people that help you out and friends, it's hard going at it alone. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And then of course, there's like promotions and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe we need to do a podcast about office politics, because
Maybe.
yeah, I've always equated office politics to like The Sopranos and gangster movies, because they're very similar.
Yeah.
The way, like if you watch The Sopranos, like that's office politics. Obviously they're gangsters, but the rules still apply. Like what you can and can't do, and how you're always trying to suck up to the boss and make alliances. And but anyways, so really what I wanted to get through is because people do, I say games, but it could also be interpreted as social norms, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know what I'm talking about because I made like a short list of just things that I've observed that I do
Mm-hmm.
and that I've gotten feedback on and things like that. Like whenever I talk to people about relationships or whatever. But and these are in no particular order, by the way. These are in no particular order. But I have like 6 or 7 of them. So the first one, and I don't know, you tell me whether you agree or not, but never let them know how much you like them.
Where do you
Like,
think we got that? We just don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be, as they call it now, thirsty. Or is there a new word? I don't know. Thirsty, is that old?
yeah, no, it's well, I don't know. What it implies isn't old, and if you say it, they'll know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, there's something about not letting them know. Maybe I should rephrase that because you shouldn't let them know too early, perhaps,
Yeah.
how much you're into them.
Yeah, don't say I love you on the first date.
No. The second one, sure, but the first one, no, not so much.
Move in on the third date.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
married on the fourth date.
Yes, is that not how it works? I thought, what's the point of dating? Like we have an agenda. The fourth one, yeah, but no, yeah, you're just not supposed to do that. I don't know if because I've had conversations with either guys and girls and whatnot, and whenever a girl reveals too quickly how much she's into me,
Yeah.
I'll sometimes bring it up, and it doesn't throw me off.
Yeah.
But usually my buddies be like, "Oh no, man! Like take it easy.
It's weird. I think it's how you say it, maybe. You know what I mean? Like if you're conveying it of like, if you say like I could see myself marrying you after the first date, then yeah, that's
I've had that
probably
before.
that's what I'm saying. Probably shouldn't say that. But if you say like on the first date, like I really am surprised, like I really like your personality. I didn't know we would click like the. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
I've heard that a couple
But
of times.
maybe
on
your
the first
friends,
date.
maybe they had experiences where she came on really strong and it was just too over.
Too much. Yeah. Because then you get into almost psychopathic behavior.
Yeah.
They become obsessed at
Single
some point.
white female.
Yeah, well, there's an obsession thing, right? But I'm sure you've probably heard it from like girlfriends of yours too. Like they just started dating, like maybe it's a second date, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I like him so much. He's so awesome." Blah blah.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Take it easy.
Yeah.
Take it easy."
I
Beth.
try not to say anything, Beth, but like Beth, you don't know this guy yet. I mean, give it some time. He's going to show his colors.
It's like the second date, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you don't know enough about him to really. But I get the infatuation part.
Yeah.
I get that they're into it.
I feel like I would much rather somebody tell me how they were feeling about me. Like I said, in the way that you say it, but I would rather you say it than me not know how you feel about me. Let's say you're dating
game
for
that
like
we play.
I know, but I don't know. Like if we're dating for like a month, I don't think there's anything wrong with you coming to me and expressing your feelings about what you feel about me and our relationship. Like, I don't think there's anything weird about that. If you're getting my name tattooed on your arm, which has happened to me before.
There's a dude out there with your name tattooed.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he has it covered up by now, but yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Never mind. I'm not gonna go to that story.
Did I tap a nerve there?
That's a story for another episode.
There's a trigger. It's a trigger. Something there. I saw a change in your facial expression.
Made me all sweaty now.
Is it all like on his butt or something?
No, it was on his arm.
Okay.
But yeah, that's for another episode. No, but I don't think there's anything wrong. Like I said, don't be creepy. Don't have a shrine of pictures of me or whatever. But I think if you say it like in a normal way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What about like taking, and this is not on the list, but just out of curiosity, taking selfies on the first, like both of y'all together?
No,
on the first
absolutely
date?
not.
No?
Why?
I don't know. To commemorate the fact that you found the love of your life. I don't know.
I don't really like taking
date,
photos
maybe.
at all, but that if I was on a first date and he said like, "Oh, can we take a photo together?" I would be totally weirded out by that. I'm sorry. I don't think that that's normal.
I don't know what it is.
Has someone ever done that to you?
I'm trying to think. Maybe not on the first date. It might have been like on the second one. I don't think I've had it on the first. Yeah, I don't think so.
And then too, you have to think about, is it that someone that maybe you've been talking on the phone for several weeks? You know what I'm saying? Like it could be that too of like, is your bond really strong by the second date because you've talked for hours on the phone? So I think some of that may be circumstantial too.
It could have been. I know that what happens a lot, especially when you're on a first date, sometimes they'll ask you, like when you go to the restaurant, like, what's the occasion? And I'm like, oh, it's our first date. And they're like, oh, okay,
Oh,
blah,
that's so
blah, blah.
embarrassing.
But that happens a lot. And even
Yeah.
when you make
Oh, if it's like a
reservations,
fancy place.
no, not necessarily.
They ask you
Just
that at Chili's.
yeah, sometimes they do. Yeah, I mean, you do it at like I don't know if you have that app, Open Table.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so that's where you make reservations, and you can actually
Yeah.
tell them like what the occasion is. I mean, like
What
a
if you put first date
anniversary.
on there? Would they bring it up?
I've done that
Really?
before. Yeah, so it's like sometimes it might be a celebration,
Oh,
birthday,
yeah.
anniversary,
I get that.
and then like first day is like I guess that's
I
an
feel like the
event.
nicer the restaurant, the more they ask that, because if you're going to a really nice restaurant, it's probably to celebrate something, birthday, anniversary, like you said, whatever. But
For sure,
no, I
makes
think
it that
it's
much more special.
yeah. If you're going to Chili's for your birthday,
Nothing
I
wrong
mean,
with Chili's. I
I guess
love some
not.
baby back ribs, man.
I want my baby back, baby back.
Don't get me started on that. I love their baby
Yeah.
back ribs. They're still awesome. They changed up the menu quite a bit. I don't want to digress too much.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I
they've
went
done
there like
well.
a year ago, and they did have like a barbecue plate. It was like you pick so many meats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the meat sweats and
Yeah, everything is like
That's
super
not good on a
greasy.
first date, just FYI. Don't get the meat sweats on the
Don't
first
get a
date.
trough of any kind of food on your first. Well, that's what it came like. It was like this like tin thing. It was like
Put your
as
bib on.
big
Let's
as a
get
TV
down,
set.
girl. 'Cause
Yeah.
That's how you know you found the right one. When she could put the bib on and she's like, let's do this.
I love those
Just-
videos where it shows like women eating on the first date as it progresses on, where you're like trying to be all wiping your mouth.
That's also a game.
Like,
That's also a game that
oh,
we
that's
play.
true. Like, oh, I'm not really that hungry. I'll just have a salad. And
Yeah.
you're like, girl,
Okay.
you know you don't want a salad.
get to some food. You're hungry. You can hear her tummy rumble.
Yeah.
You're like, what's wrong? It's oh, nothing. Eat.
Yeah, for
Get
sure.
your hamburger. Get you some baby back ribs. But so the other one, and this is more along the lines of, again, you're dating, right? So this is somewhat, I guess it could be either established or even before the first date or afterwards, but don't over text or under text. That's another one that I found can also be detrimental to
It's hard to
your-
find that sweet spot.
It is because if you over text, you overwhelm them, and you can kind of see the messages back and forth. And if they're the same amount of paragraphs, like usually they're just as into you as you are into them.
Yeah.
But if you give them like 3 or 4 sentences and they're giving you like one word answers or
Yeah.
like just barely a sentence, it's like, yeah, they're not that interested in you.
I feel like as a
Either
woman,
that or they don't know how to text.
yeah, I feel like as a woman, we like good morning text, and then maybe somewhere in the afternoon, and then maybe we talk on the phone a little bit at night. I think that's a good.
Man,
it's
that's
like
a lot.
2 text.
For how far along in the dating are we
No,
doing?
like
there?
we're just newly dating or whatever.
Okay.
Like, good morning. I hope you have a good day. Blah blah blah. Whatever your thing is. And then
Sure.
middle of the day, like, oh, how's your day going?
Yeah.
Whatever. Maybe you banter a little bit, and then at night, maybe you talk on the phone for like 30 minutes to an hour. Be like, oh, this is what's going on in my day. Blah blah.
Yeah, that's what. So, yes, I mean, and then also,
Is that a lot?
no, it's not a lot. It's not a lot, but it kind of goes into one of the other ones that I have on
Oh.
here, and I'll just right out say it is don't be boring. I get that a lot. Well, I see it a lot on dating profiles. Like that's one of the number ones. Like don't be boring. Which I don't know how to interpret that. Like,
Yeah.
I got to be like entertaining, like a magician. Like, when I see you, like I pull a coin out of your ear, like ta-da!
That might be entertaining. I don't know.
It's not boring. It can't be unless
Yeah.
you just don't like magic. In
I
which
did
case
go on a
can't
date with a
date
guy
you.
that did some magic tricks on our date, but it was cute. I can't remember what they were now.
Did he do that where he had the wand and then it turned into flowers?
No,
and
it wasn't like
ta-da?
that. It was like things that were at the bar at the time. I don't remember exactly what it was. He didn't have like a fake ear in his pocket or anything, like, 40-year-old
Did
virgin
he-
style. But
Did he bring? I'm thinking he brought out like a condom and then he made it disappear, like ta-da.
no. I don't know
'Cause
what
that
kind of
would-
magic tricks books you've been reading, but no.
Sorry, I went into the deep end on that one, but
Mm-hmm.
no, that's cool. If I knew how to do magic, I would love to do magic in front
Yeah.
on a first date. I'm just not. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I bought a kit when I went to Vegas one time, and it's still sitting there. I never really did anything with it. I kind of wish I did. Like learn
Yeah.
card tricks and all kinds of magic stuff, but I just never really followed up with it.
Sounds like you got to do that next weekend. You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
I don't think girls are into magic all that much.
I think a little bit like party tricks almost is cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're bringing props, I don't know about that one.
But see, so when you were talking about earlier about the fact that, like you text them and then you do that. If you do that too much,
Yeah.
they tend to get bored with you. And I can say this much. I don't think I've ever gotten bored of a woman. Most of the time it's the woman or the women that get bored of me,
I
if
can
anything.
understand that part if you're doing it too much. Like, I don't want anyone to be blowing up my phone. Even sometimes, like, I'm on this text exchange with my family, and let's say something's happening, and it's just boom, boom, boom,
Bing, bing,
like
bing, bing,
all
bing.
for
Yeah.
like, then it's overwhelming, and that's not. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think that anyone really likes, unless maybe you're very codependent and you like that kind of attention.
Yeah.
So maybe there are some women out there that, like, if you don't text them every hour, they're probably like, oh, well, he doesn't really like me, or
Yeah. I mean,
I
who
don't
know?
know.
Again, it's a game, right? You don't know because you don't want to
Yeah.
undertext.
Yeah.
You want to still kind of show that you're interested without blowing up their
I
phone,
think a good
and
rule
you
of
just
thumb
don't
would
know.
be like make contact at least once a day. Like every day you got to make contact. That's like the bare minimum rule of thumb. Because I mean, I don't know if you're going to go into this and I apologize, but like
No,
the
go for
the
it.
waiting 3 days to call or text someone after you meet them, that whole thing,
That's
you
old school. I don't think they do that too much nowadays.
yeah, maybe not.
That's old school. Because if they even called you in the second date, I mean, the second day,
Uh-huh.
typically they might just be disinterested. Because
Yeah.
you got to remember back when they made that rule up, it was a phone call. It
Yeah.
wasn't no text. It
Oh,
was
that's
just like,
true.
hey, what's going on? So you actually had to talk to them
Yeah.
and you didn't want to do it right after. Let's say you had a really good night or whatever. And
Yeah.
like you don't want to call them immediately. That's why you had to wait a little bit.
That's
You had to
true.
let them marinate on the whole experience, right?
Uh-huh.
Again, this is before cell phones. So you let them marinate on the entire experience and let them decide whether or not. And then when you call them, you can kind of gauge because they might be
Yeah,
like,
but
oh, I'm
women
glad to
never
hear
liked
from
that
you.
rule. It's a joke for a reason. Women never even back then liked it because it's like, like, why are you waiting? Again, it's just another game.
See, but that's what I'm saying. You have to, because the problem is if you call them immediately, it gives the same impression of, again, they're coming on too fast,
What's
too
immediately
soon.
like
Like the
that
next
same night?
day.
I don't think that's weird. If we had a date and we had a really good date, and then the next afternoon you call me, I don't think that that's
I think
desperate.
I think it would scare. It used to scare certain women away
Oh, okay.
because now you don't like. I'll put it to you this way. That's what I'm saying. Back to the number one that I had.
Uh-huh.
Never let them know how much you like them. When you do that, the woman would immediately know. Oh, he's into me. Now
Yeah.
I got him.
Well,
Got
I like the first part of what you said,
Got
but the second part is like, but I would want to
Well,
know if
for
you're
the
interested.
evil ones, anyways, for the evil women, like I got this dude. Like, yeah, we're going to Sizzlers next time.
Sizzlers. Women, stop it. They're
We're
like,
gonna
I'm
go
going to
get
get that trough
lobster.
of
Yeah.
food at Chili's. Get some baby back ribs.
No, but it gives off the impression. That's why they did it. Is because you didn't want to let them know too early just how much you were into them. You could, mind you, but the problem is, I think to a certain degree, one of the things that I've noticed that we've gotten away from is a little bit of the cat and mouse thing. You don't see that too much anymore. And don't get me wrong, there's something to be said by putting your cards on the table right off the bat.
Yeah.
But there's also something to say, like a little bit of give and take, a little bit of
Yeah, you want to play it
chasing.
cool a little
Yeah.
bit, but not too much.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, right? With the not getting boring and the texting, I find myself, because I know that women get bored of men. It happens. I'm not saying that all of them do, but it happens. So I try to think of something clever to say or put it in a different way other than, hey, how's your day? Although I've done that before too, but sometimes you just want to be a little more creative to keep their interest, right? Because here's the other thing, right? As the games, right? For a guy, if you can make a woman smile or laugh, like that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So to do that over a text is also difficult, right? Because you don't know what kind of comedy they're into, right? You don't know what their sense of humor, if I will.
No
What,
dad jokes.
yeah, you just never know because
Yeah.
sometimes it could either land if you
yeah.
have the same kind of personality,
Yeah.
or you can miss completely and they can misinterpret
But
whatever
that's
it
the
is that you
same thing
said.
with the waiting part. Like, if you're the type of girl like me, like if you're waiting several days to reach back out to me, I'm out. I'm not going to be interested at that point because it's like, I know you're playing this game with me. If you like me, just try to talk to me. Why wait for what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now the 3-day rule doesn't exist
Well, I'm
anymore.
just
But you
saying.
can text now. But again, even the text and how you open up the text and how you progress, you can't come on too strong either.
I'm just saying, like, if I had an amazing date with a guy and then the next morning he just said, like, good morning, beautiful, or something, I'd be cheesing
But
so
what if you
hard.
didn't have an amazing day? You had a horrible
No,
day.
I don't.
Then
I'm not
what?
talking about that. I'm not saying if I don't want to hear from you. Not those. If we really like clicked and this is like that, amazing feeling, and you send me a good morning text, I'm like, wow, like he was probably thinking about me when he first woke up. And that makes a woman feel good. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah. No,
I mean, I can't be the only one.
No, I don't think you're the only one.
That's what I'm saying. A good morning text. And then throughout the day, maybe mid-afternoon, like, hey, how's your day going? I went over here, and just whatever you say, I don't know. And then at night, you'd be like, hey, you want to chat for a little bit?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think that's what I'm saying. It's a balancing act, right? You have to get a little bit of the mundane and the day-to-day stuff. And then you also want to be a little more creative and have fun.
Yeah.
And for a guy, you just have to continue to do that. And it's very difficult to sometimes do that, especially if your day is more regimented, right? Like, so if every day you do the same thing, it's hard, right? It's like, I just got through working out. If you text them every day and they work out every day, like at 7 or whatever, that's just their routine. There's nothing, it is somewhat boring, but that's just my life. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a texting question. What do you feel about texting photos instead of saying something? So it's like you're still thinking of them, but let's say I don't know, you got a really good lunch plate. Let's say you went to Chili's and you got some baby back ribs and let's say you're eating lunch by yourself.
I'm smacking my lips right now talking about it.
This has been an advertisement for Chili's. No, but like you take a photo of your food and you send it to her. It's like, and you don't have to say anything. It's just like, she knows where you're at based on the picture, right? And you're just, obviously you're thinking about her, but it's not like, hey, I'm thinking about you. It's like, oh, I don't know, food text. It seems like people do that a lot.
No, but you're hitting on a thing. They don't do, nowadays you don't see too much of the food text unless you ask the question like, hey, what are you up to right now? Or like, what's going on? Then they might be, I'm at dinner or whatever. And then they might text you that, but in general, they don't do that. Typically, they'll sometimes send you pictures randomly, which I love.
Yeah.
Pictures of themselves, right? I love it, and at the same time, because it makes you feel special. Sorry, I'm laughing because it makes you feel special, right? Until you go on Facebook and they have the same picture up, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so you're really not that special.
I dated this one guy that was telling me that it was like, I don't know what is about you guys. I guess you're just visual. You love to see pictures of your woman, right? You're like, send me a photo, and I'm like, anyways. So it was like one of those things where I sent him a photo or something. And he said that he always checks the time on the photo because he said in the past, like, I don't know if it's an Apple thing or something, but like if I take a photo today and I send it to you 3 days from now, you can go into the info of the photo and show that it was taken 3 days prior. And so I guess he was dating someone in the past that was like sending him like old photos to the point where now he checks every time, which I thought was...
Yeah, I don't go that deep.
Yeah,
that's wow. He's vetting everything.
But
that's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel that special if you just go on Facebook and you see the exact same photo. Right. You're like, okay, this is for everybody. You're not that special.
Or if you're in a serious relationship with someone, because I've gotten this too of like, let's say they ask you, or I don't know, you take a photo of yourself, you send it to them, and then they think it's just for them. And then let's say you do post it on your social media as like your new profile picture. And then they get mad. They're like, well, I thought it was for me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're not that special. But that's what I'm saying. That's part of it. Because if you see that, even though, don't get me started on social media and everything, but it is a little like you do get knocked down a peg a little bit because you're like, I'm really not that special. I mean, she just sent it to me, but she sent it to the entire world as far as, you know what I mean? Yeah. So now I don't feel that special anymore. And I'm like, okay, now she just likes to send out. She just wants everybody to see what she looks like. Great. Yeah. It's not me.
So if you're dating somebody and she sends you, you don't ask for it. She just sends you photos of herself, but she doesn't post them. It's just for you. Yeah. That makes you feel good.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And you like that kind of stuff when you're newly dating? Like instead
I like it even if we're regular dating.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking about the texting part when you're newly dating, the game part. You don't know when to text, how much, what do you text? Is the photo thing sufficient?
Yeah, well, even now, like texting has evolved quite a bit because now, you can have a whole conversation with just emojis if you really want to go down that road, really. But it's hard, right? Because, I'm a little older, so I like emojis. I don't like to overuse emojis, but there are certain women that don't like them at all. And it's like, okay, but they're kind of cute. So like nothing conveys it the way this conveys
this eggplant and a peach.
No, I don't think I've ever messaged anybody an eggplant, but I did as a gag one time. Yeah.
But women have said they don't like don't send me emojis.
Some women don't particularly care for it. Or in their profile, they'll put on their like, send a regular text. Don't send emojis.
Do you
I'm
think
like,
that's
oh, okay.
because, though, they've had relationships or were dating people where maybe there wasn't really any communication and the other person thought like, well, I'll send her an emoji, so that's kind of communicating, but it's really not.
I
Maybe it
think
was just more of
for
that.
them, I think it's more like the immaturity, if you will. But that's what I'm saying. There's a way of doing it, and then there's a way of not doing it.
Yeah.
Because you do want to be playful. Even if you're mature and let's say established or whatever, you can't. Again, don't be boring.
Yeah.
Like that is like up there at the top. Like you can't be boring. So you still have to be a little playful. You have to play around. You just can't go overboard with it. Like I
Yeah.
said, the eggplant thing. Don't get me wrong. You can probably do that, but you would have to know them well enough, and that would have to be their sense of humor too.
Yeah.
Because if that's not how they roll, don't
Yeah. If
do
you don't
it.
know me, don't send me an emoji
Right.
of an eggplant.
Maybe you're having eggplant, and you're like, "What are you eating?" The eggplant.
Yeah,
You're
maybe.
Like,
No,
what?
I think you should take an actual photo of the eggplant then at that point.
But like sometimes it does it. Like on the iPhone, I know you have an Android. Oh, I'm rolling my eyes.
There's nothing wrong with Android.
No, there's not. It's fine. But and I don't know if it does it on Androids or not, but on Apple, the iPhones, when you write certain things out, the emoji pops up.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if that was also that they did that over there. So sometimes it's like,
Androids
oh, I
do a
didn't even
lot
think.
that iPhones do.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Because like sometimes you could say it and then just put the emoji in there, like, "Hey, you want to go dancing?" And then the little dancing icon
Yeah.
comes up or emoji, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, that looks cute, right?"
Yeah.
But you just never know. You just never know. So, but the other thing too is you can do a lot of, I don't know if they call it GIFs or GIFs,
Oh,
whatever
GIFs,
they call. Yeah, you see a lot of that, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're pretty funny. And I catch myself doing that from time to time too, if it's appropriate or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't do it a lot, but sometimes,
Well, if you're newly dating somebody, let's say you've had a couple of dates and she sends you a lot of gifts instead of just regular text, would you look at that as like, you know what I mean?
No,
Like it's
no, I
okay.
see that as a little more playful,
Okay.
which is fine, especially if they're my age and stuff. Because again, I don't know. There's something about getting into your 40s that you revert back to being a teenager to a certain degree, obviously.
I think some of the responsibilities start to fall off a little bit. You know what I mean? And you're just
You're
like,
more established. You don't have to worry about certain things, like
Yeah.
wherever you are in your career. And I'm not saying like you stop, but it's just like I've kind of reached where I need to be. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Now
Like,
you
so-
have money.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, absolutely. You have good credit.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic.
You have a house. You're not like trying to go to people's
Yes,
apartments.
and you can come and go as you please. If you want to go take
Yeah.
a trip, you just take a trip. Like, okay, let's go. But when you're young and you're broke, you can't really do that too
Yeah.
much, right? I mean, again, within the realm of responsibility, but there's something liberating once you get into your 40s that you can just kind of revert back a little bit.
Yeah.
And you want to be a little more playful. You don't, that old saying, you're only as young as you feel or as old as you feel, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't want to be like an old fuddy-duddy. See,
Yeah.
even the word fuddy-duddy, they don't use it.
Yeah. I haven't heard that term in a long time.
I'm showing my age.
I had to think about it for a second.
And I send emojis. So, I'm complex that way. I'm an enigma.
Maybe there's
so.
like is there an old man emoji?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You
there's
just-
old man. There's,
You send that for like fuddy duddy. I don't know.
I don't know if that's what the translation is, but, and some of those emojis, I always get afraid sometimes because some of them, I don't know. I know what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's like something that I'm unaware of that when you send that, you're not supposed to. The eggplant thing, for instance. I remember I'm talking to a buddy of mine. He was married for a while. And I told him about that. And he was like, what does that mean? So he really didn't know what it implied, right?
Okay.
So because he wasn't in dating, he's been married. Like he's not going to
Yeah.
send that stuff.
I'd
It's
send that to my
mostly-
husband.
When he asks you, what are you doing? That's not a good
No, not that. Like, what do you want to do tonight?
Like, wait a minute.
No,
what?
no. No. Hey, baby, what do you want to do tonight? I'll
Sure.
send you an eggplant.
There you go. Right on. But yeah, I mean, texting, I remember, again, I got divorced in 2016 and I had to learn how to text literally. Cause that's the other thing. I text in full sentences.
Yeah.
And at the time it was like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Like only old people do that. But I think that's since gone away and people use full sentences now, full words.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I might like you instead of writing out, Y-O-U, you just put the U.
Yeah.
But not always. Like for me, I just enjoy and I know like whenever I get text from you, I know you like to speak it
Oh, I
And
do.
then it converts it into a text.
And sometimes it'd be like something weird. I'm like, damn, like this.
I can see it because you're talking to it. And I'm like, oh, she's just rambling on.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh,
but I can see your train of thought.
I
Like,
know what
oh,
you're
she's
thinking though,
just
because
talking.
I do cuss a lot, and so like when I talk it into it, it always does the little asterisks or whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I wasn't typing that. Like if
Yeah.
that comes across, like no.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, man, she's sitting there texting this whole long paragraph, and
no.
no, it's just
Voice
one.
text is like the best thing that ever. Actually, I invented that before it came out. Actually, it was like,
Tell me about that, pray
when
tell.
was that? It was like when cell phones like first came out. I remember it was just like a thing one day. I was like, you know what they should do? Because it took so long to text things out. I was like, they should have a button where you just talk into it and then it writes out everything you said. And then
And
like,
that's it.
and then it happened like, I don't know how many years, decades later or whatever. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I came up with that.
Well, and I'll say, I'll tell you a new feature that the iPhone has, and I don't know if you have it, but I'm going to say it because it's a new feature that we got. So when I text somebody that also has an iPhone, you can tell because the color is different. But also, if they have an iPhone and I text something and I messed up a word, I can actually go in and edit, and it'll send the edited version. It'll take back the old version and send back the edited.
Oh, like an email recall.
Yeah, and not only that, but you can also do with text. So if you text somebody, and let's say and I did this like once or twice, where I was drunk texting.
Oh,
you know what I
no.
mean? And I sent out some things, and I instantly regretted it, and now I can go back and delete it, and it comes back and it takes it away. You have to do it within like I want to say within like 2 minutes of after you
I'm
send
gonna
it.
try that. I don't know. I've just never tried that before.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feature.
Ooh.
It's a wonderful feature, and no matter what you send, so long as you do, and again,
But what if let's say that they're playing on their phone
it'll
and
take it
comes,
back.
but if it comes down and they've already read it,
Yeah, but it'll take it back and you can gaslight them afterwards. Like, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? Show me the proof.
tips and tricks for texting.
That's what, unless they take they could try to take like a screenshot of it real quick, but that's only if they're paranoid and like, ooh, I need to get
yeah,
this
that
or
would
whatever.
be weird.
But no, you can go back and you can take it back and it just disappears. It's like, bloop, it disappears off their thing. And I love that. I'm like, yes,
I gotta
thank
try
you.
that then.
Thank
I know
you,
it does that for
iPhone.
like is it on, I don't know if it's Instagram or Facebook messaging. They have that same thing where you can kind of recall it.
Yeah.
But I've never tried it on my phone. It's the best. But yeah, let me tell you people like
But you can't do it on Android, by the way. If I send you whatever I send you, it's just there.
Oh, okay.
So it's only for other iPhone folk.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, if you're dating someone, like newly dating, and I don't mean to sound like a snob, but like, make sure that you're spelling things correctly before you send. Like, you know what I mean? If you're trying to impress someone, like, do some proofreading. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's how I feel about I love intelligence. It's kind of a turn off. It's just like proofread your messages, anyways.
That's why you're doing a podcast with a nerd.
I don't know. But people are probably doing that anyway. You're probably more on high alert when you start dating someone new of what you're saying and how you say it, but
yeah. No, spelling is a big thing. For me, and I'll leave this one with the texting. Because we could have called this whole episode about texting, to be honest with you.
And emojis.
Yeah, and emojis. But the other thing too is, so I know how to speak Spanish, but I don't know how to spell. And I can read Spanish, but I can't spell Spanish.
Yeah.
So whenever, if ever I'm dating somebody or start chatting up somebody that only speaks Spanish, I have to obviously translate the text.
But they know that it's not your first language.
They do, but the problem is it turns them off sometimes.
Oh.
Because it loses something in the translation.
Right.
And, the way people write versus how they speak is two different things.
Yeah.
And it loses it. And I think sometimes they either think that like I'm a robot or something, or I'm not real, or they're just like, yeah, it's weird what he's saying. And so you can't convey exactly what you want to say via whatever. Because again, I don't know how to spell it. And then also they have their own vernacular. So Spanish, there's like proper Spanish, and then there's just how people talk Spanish kind of thing. Yeah. So it's a thing.
Yeah. I take Spanish lessons every day on my phone. Let me tell you, my spelling in Spanish is no bueno.
Yeah. But I've never tried it for like somebody, let's say if they spoke like Japanese or another language like Russian or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would look like. I probably wouldn't even entertain that because Like, you really don't know what you're getting. And then how would you be able to communicate in person anyways? You know
Would
what I
the
mean?
apps hook you up with someone that speaks Japanese only? And then how would you communicate?
Well, that's what I'm
Emojis, I
saying.
guess. Or maybe the emojis would be different.
I
I don't
guess.
know.
I guess. That's what I'm saying. You just never know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's a whole, if somebody wants to teach people how to text or whatever, I remember
Mm.
when I again first started dating in 2016, I used to see a bunch of YouTubes
Oh,
videos on what you should do, how you should text, and
nice.
things that you should send out or whatever. And I remember I used to watch them. I got better at it over time, but I still to this day, now it's different now because I'm more comfortable in the texting part than
Yeah.
anything. And texting is great because you don't have to.
What would we do without the internet?
I don't know.
Because I heard there's even like kissing tips online.
That I agree with because not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a pretty good kisser. I'm an
I'm just
excellent.
to take your word for it, I
Yeah,
guess.
fair enough. But that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't happen a lot with women. But every now and again, you'll come across a woman that does not know how to kiss, and that's a little annoying sometimes because I'm not saying that's a deal breaker,
Yeah.
but it's very difficult
So
to
are you
get
saying
over.
we should all go online and look at these tips?
No, what I'm saying is they should learn how to kiss. But if it's gonna help, sure. I don't know. I've heard a lot of women tell me that men a lot of times don't know how to kiss.
Oh yeah, that's
Either
100% true.
yeah, and maybe they use too much tongue or not enough tongue, or maybe it's sloppy. Like, and so I take all this into my memory bank, and I'm like, okay, don't do any of those
Well,
things.
for any women out there that want to learn how to kiss, Jose is ready, and you just write us an email. And
Well, you remember like on The Wedding Singer when they were talking about the
I
first
didn't
kiss
see
at
that
the
movie.
You didn't see The Wedding Singer?
No.
Really? Okay. So they were having a conversation. It was she was trying on like I think her wedding dress or something. She was talking to her friend, and they were asking like, "Are you going to kiss him on the altar or whatever?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And they're like, "Well," then they started going into like, "Oh, is it going to be like with tongue, no tongue, soft? Like how passionate is it going to be?" And there's this whole conversation about
That is a weird thing because that's like one of the only times that you're gonna like kiss someone in front of who knows how many
yeah,
people,
everybody's there
and
to
they're
see
just
you.
watching. It's just like,
They're voyeurs. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it is weird. I don't know if I go too into it if I ever got married because like my family is here. I don't. Ew, no. Oh my god. No. Please no.
Get a room, you two.
Ugh. No. Ew.
No, but that's also the dating game. Like the first kiss that you ever have with somebody, you have to think it out
Ooh,
a
that
little
sets
bit.
the tone.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. You there's many different ways that you can go about it, right? You could be just a peck on the cheek to start out with, just to kind of fill it out, or it could. And that's happened to me before, where I went in and I was like, I'm just gonna give you a peck on the cheek. But it was a really, really good date. So she like attacked me and she's like, no, it's going to be a lot more than that. And I was like, oh, okay. But you kind of have to, you don't know.
Is
Like,
that
I
more
thought it
of
was
a
a good date.
game or a rule, like the kissing on the first date kind of thing? Or maybe is it a game in the sense of like you're trying to figure out what they want almost?
Yeah, you're trying to gauge just how good of a date, because just because it was a good date doesn't mean that it was a love connection, if you will.
Right,
Right. It
right.
could have just been good company, if you
Yeah,
will.
like, oh, you're cool. I had fun.
Yeah, yeah. Like, but even then, even if it's better, and then also if you don't know what their rules are
Right.
around first kisses.
Right.
Like it could be that, and sometimes they'll say that like, I don't kiss on the first date. Like, okay, cool. Like, great.
Do you think that's
Wonderful.
a question that you should ask on a first date? Like, how do you feel?
I don't know. I don't know. In this day and age, I know that in the past you would never ask that.
Yeah.
I guess you would bring it up if it was a deal breaker for you. Like
Yeah.
if that was your thing and you're like, hey, just
Or maybe you've been on a lot of dates recently and it just keeps happening and you're like annoyed with it.
maybe, or maybe that's just the way you are.
Yeah.
Let's say, and you're just like, I don't kiss on the first date, just letting you know. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I never assume anything. Most of the time, I try to be as respectful, and I usually don't kiss on the first date.
Most of the time you can tell if a woman is like, I typically don't kiss on a first date, but like you could tell there's a vibe, there's the look, the gaze, like there's all that stuff that leads up to it. But if there's none of that, don't go in for the kiss if there's no signs.
What I will say is this: I try to make myself as attractive as possible. So whether
Is
or not
that another game though?
I mean, kind of. Obviously, you want to put your best foot forward. That doesn't mean that I expect a kiss, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, if it's gonna go well, like I want to be as presentable as
Right. And
possible.
I think that's good, but it just makes me think of, is it a game to present yourself in a way the first few dates, and then all of a sudden it turns out, let's say that you dress really nice the first couple of dates, and then it turns out you dress like a slob and that's not who you were. Isn't that a game too? I mean, and on the fourth date, you show up in basketball shorts and a t-shirt, and she's like, wait a minute.
I'm just showing you my versatility, girl. This is basketball, Jose. This
I
is
think it's kind of a
first
game
date,
too. Like the
Jose.
first date, it's like, I think you should be true to yourself at all points. And it's like, if you are a basketball short kind of guy, you're not going to get a second date with me, but you show up in basketball shorts and it's like, okay, you're not playing a game with me. You're not wearing a
Love it or
suit.
leave it, baby. Love it or leave it.
I'm just
This is me.
saying.
No, I get what you're saying, but no, I wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe, perhaps.
Not
I,
like a malicious game. When I say it, I don't mean
No,
malicious.
no, absolutely. And none of these are malicious per
Yeah.
se, right? It's just, again, maybe they're faux pas, again, maybe
Yeah.
giving out too much. But I will say this, I think both women, and I think even for me, I can tell if a woman, let's say she dresses up, I can kind of tell that she doesn't do this on the regular
Oh, how can you tell?
because they're somewhat uncomfortable. You can tell that they're just
Oh.
uncomfortable in the situation. And sometimes they'll just right out say,
They can complain about their feet hurting already.
it could be, sometimes they'll just right out and say like, yeah, I don't get dressed up usually. Like,
Then why
I just,
do it? That's what I'm saying. Isn't
well,
that a game?
I mean, because they're trying to put their best foot forward. So I get it.
I know, but you can still look presentable, but you don't have to dress in a way that's completely where you're uncomfortable. You can wear just nice jeans and a blouse.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with that.
It could, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when I show up, first date or second or third for that matter, unless we're doing an event,
Yeah.
I'm always gonna have a button up and a
Yeah, but it's not a
blazer.
game though, because you like to dress up. So
Yeah.
it's like, this is what I like. This is
Yeah.
who I am. So it's not a game for you.
And you can see because I'm usually comfortable in my own skin because this is how I dress.
Yeah.
Pretty much for work, and obviously it's a little more stylish for the evening when we go out on dates. But in general, I always have a button up and a blazer.
You're probably not wearing a suit for like when you go out to like a lunch date at Panera Bread or something.
No, but I will, again, I try to be as stylish as possible.
Yeah.
But I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying.
for me,
It's
like,
not a
that's
game
fun.
for you.
Yeah.
It's
And it's okay because I've dated women too that are just like t-shirt and jeans kind of gals. And I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, what's wrong with you? It's like, if that's what you're comfortable in, great. That it makes no difference. I'm still going to dress the way
Yeah,
I
but
am.
don't you think the majority of people would feel some type of way about that if, like you said, if you had 3 dates and the girl dresses up to the nines or whatever, and then on the fourth date she shows up and she reveals to you like, yeah, I don't wear this. This is not my whatever. Because in your mind, after 3 dates, you're like, oh, this is her. You assume that you're showing up to show who you are, but
Yeah. Well, it's not disappointing. For me, it's like, okay, great. You feel comfortable enough to be this way. Great.
well, I'm not saying for you, just in general. I don't know. Like, I like guys who dress up. So if you're showing up 3 dates and you're dressing up and looking sharp, and then all of a sudden on the fourth date you say like, yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. I never do it. That's not me. And it's like, well, I feel like you kind of fooled me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you didn't say like, yeah, I don't normally dress like this, or I don't know.
That's the game, and that leads into the last one
Oh.
here, which is don't reveal too much too soon. That's another one. I'm not saying that you should omit everything, obviously,
Yeah.
as it progresses. But if you reveal too much too soon, it can throw people off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think the
too
first date is
overwhelming for
when you
anybody.
should reveal your like most traumatic
Yeah,
experiences.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like vulnerability, and if you choose to share that, great.
Yeah.
But it can sometimes it can really
You know what it
mess you
feels
up.
like to me when I go on a date and people do that? It's almost like you're not really wanting to go out with date with me per se. You're looking for a therapy session. It would have been anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you show up and all you talk about is like all these issues, or you talk
these
about your
traumatic
ex
events, yeah.
or whatever, and it's like I feel obsolete. It's like I could have been anybody just sitting here in front of you. It's
Right. It's
I
not
don't
that
know.
special.
Yeah.
Versus if you get to know them and after a couple of months and
Yeah,
they
and
feel
then you're
comfortable
like,
enough to
exactly.
share. Like, oh, okay. Like that, it does feel a lot more special versus
Yeah.
you just bleh,
But
everything.
again, too, there's a balance between like, because let's say you go on a couple of dates and they're not revealing really anything about themselves, semi-personal. I don't mean
got to be mysterious, girl. That's the
you
other
gotta
part.
say some things. If you're just like,
Nah.
I like pizza and that's all about
Listen,
me.
and that's that. So here's the thing too. Like for guys, you have to be a little mysterious.
Yeah.
That's why again you can't put all your cards on the table at first. You got to be a
But I'm
little.
not saying all of it. But
mysterious,
just like
man.
if you're not really opening up to me at all after a few dates. I'm not saying reveal your most traumatic or anything like that, but you got to give a little bit. So it's like, if I feel there's a connection, if we're just all surface level for several dates.
Well, but let me ask you this. What if there really isn't, like, everybody has trauma, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But what if you've already dealt with it and it's not something that you normally bring up because it's already been...
Trauma is not the right word I want to say. It's just more of personal things about you.
Yeah. Like if somebody was asking me like my dreams, aspirations, sure. Like I've been more than happy to.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm in a point in my life where I'm like, yeah, right now everything's working out good. And maybe in the future I see myself doing this or, for sure, if you want to get to know that, the trauma and the things like that, like I said, for the most part, I've kind of worked through them already.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. It's not like I'm hiding it, but sometimes it's just like, well, how deep do you want me to go?
Do you think that's a game too? If someone has maybe a lot of traumatic, emotional, whatever they need to work out, and they try to pretend that everything's cool until you kind of get a little close to them, and then they just word vomit everything.
Yeah, that's when things fall apart.
Yeah.
Because if they're, let's say, for the most part, pretty well rounded, like you said, they're not sharing, everything's very surface level. It could be because they did it, but the more you hang out, if you see them start getting upset for something that you thought was trivial, and you're like, I can't understand why they got so upset over this thing, whatever, then you know there's something else behind it.
Yeah.
But if they are pretty level-headed across the board, then just count your lucky stars and say thank you. Thank you to the dating gods and say thank you for sending me somebody that, for the most part, even if they did have trauma, they seem to be well-rounded now. And then later on, we can have a chat about anything that happened to you in the past.
That's always scary when maybe even on the second date, I don't know if they if the emotions are too high, that's a little scary.
Yeah, you shouldn't be dating, to be honest with you, especially if you're on an emotional roller coaster at the time. Your best bet is to really work on that.
But again, you may just be, let's say you're on the rebound. We talked about this many times. Like you're going out with someone to try to heal this feeling or whatever. Or like I said, you're just looking for therapy sessions and you're basically just using me, or it's somewhere to go that night.
I will say this, and I'll leave it with this. I've gone on a few dates where you can clearly tell that they were emotional about something, and maybe they just need somebody just to hear them out. And I'm more than happy to provide that. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but sometimes people just need help. And what I mean by that, just a sympathetic ear. I can do that. Most of the times on dates, my only expectation, or the only, not expectation, should I say, the goal for me whenever I go on a date is to have fun.
Yeah.
But if it turns into one of those, like, deep and like they're just venting, or they need to get some stuff off there, that's fine too. But for the most part, my first dates or any dates, I want to have fun. That's
what
the
about like if you
objective.
go on a first date and let's say it turns into one of those therapy sessions, but you actually kind of like her. So you continue to date. And let's say every interaction though is like that. Would at that point you'd have to be like, okay.
It's going to turn me off a little bit. Not because I don't want to whatever, but like anything, you have to work through it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm here to listen, but you have to work it through. And if you're not working it through, then it could be problematic.
Or I mean, maybe those things you should be going to either a counselor or going to your friends and family for that support. But dating someone new, I don't know if that's the person you should be really trying to work things out with, like emotionally.
But this is fun.
So many
games. The games that we play, yes. And there's a lot more, by the way, but, in the sake of time, we'll leave it at here. Maybe we'll do a follow-up to this. But
Part two,
yeah, because as you progress, we really talked mostly about first dates, but there's games and stuff that you play once you're in the relationship, too.
Oh, for sure.
And so... It was fun.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's listening again, please feel free to pass this along to your friends.
Yeah.
And we appreciate any support and help that you guys can
send them our link and then maybe an eggplant emoji.
There you go.
Might open up some doors for you.
Yeah, you never know. But this is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. Until next time.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.